Let's get it.
Let's go.
The Sportz Nuts are back.
You are now listening to the Sportz Nutz.
I mean, come on, that introduction, it is banging. Dadgum, it's so good. Welcome, everybody, to yet another fantastic episode of the Sportz Nutz. We have a really good one lined up for you guys tonight. Hey, real quick, let's give a special shout out to everybody tuning in on 95.5, KFCE, TigerNation.live, and the other 8 radio stations we air on across the lower 48, Alaska and Hawaii, and now 46 countries we air in. Thank you guys so much. It really does mean a lot to us. We promise you we're not just joshing you. We really mean it. And also a special shout out to our paying sponsor, Bobby at Kalama's Cuisine. If you are on the island of Oahu in Hawaii and you are interested in getting some more information about catering with Bobby, let me know. Send me an email, BrandonKeelerOnRadio@gmail.com, and we'll get you in touch with Bobby. Oh man, Shane, I know you probably heard some rumblings today, but man, happy hump day. You've made it now, as you like to say, it's all downhill from now. But how are you doing, man?
Oh man, doing good. And before I go into the banter and everything that we all love here, I want to send out a special thank you for all the prayer warriors and everybody out there. Little sister is home.
Yes.
Finally,
Amen.
so she's home, still dealing with a little bit of pain, but there's a plan moving forward. So as long as the good Lord watches over her, and like I said, as all the prayer warriors out there for us, from my family and me especially, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for that.
Yes.
But
absolutely.
as you mentioned, it's hump day, and it's downhill from here. We've gotten plenty of rain up here. Y'all have had spurts, but
we just had the bottom fell out here just a little bit ago.
Yeah, well, the bottom fell out this morning around 10 to 12, and then about 4 it started raining again, and it's supposed to not stop till about 12 tomorrow. Much needed. Yes. I'm not going to complain one bit, but other than that, man, ready to get in here with Ben. Got a couple great questions that I had to do a little bit of deep dive research in on it just to find out, but ready to get it going, man. And hey, let's get started.
Yeah, absolutely. In case you guys don't know, as you do see in the introduction, Shane is our researcher. So Shane he does do those deep dives in there. Hey, a little update about me. I got some really cool news that happened today, actually. Everybody knows that I am recovering from total knee replacement that happened on March the 12th. I am actually 3 weeks ahead of schedule with returning to a sense of normalcy. I only have 2.5 weeks at most left of physical therapy, and then I'm discharged and go to home therapy. I'm with for the rest of the year. I'm really excited about that one. I still have pain. Now I will tell you this, and Shane, you probably know this oh too well with people who have metal in their legs when they have surgery, or body in general when they have surgery, and the weather changes, you absolutely feel it. So yes, we have some interesting weather for people who are in the South as well, Southeast more specifically. Please, if you are, be weather aware. There's some really rough weather that is expected. We are already starting to get it here, so just be on that one.Tonight's episode, we are beyond thrilled for him. You all know how big of a component we are for women's sports. Well, we have, his name is Ben Lesko. I know I apologize. I thought his name was Bob, but his name is Ben Lesko. He is the assistant softball coach for Chatham University. Now, afterwards, stick around because there are a lot more stuff that we want to talk about in the sports world. So without further ado, please, everybody, Coach, man, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. You have no idea how excited I am to have you on. And then as you got the privilege to meet my daughter, she's watching, so she's beyond excited, and my wife is really excited that we are getting you on, man. So let's dive right into it. Now, the news came out yesterday about the Golden State Valkyries being now officially valued at $1 billion. And then we see the Professional Women's Hockey League expanding. And then we see the news about the AUSL expanding. What does this say to you about the world of women's sports as a whole?
Yeah, well, first off, thanks y'all for having me on. I was thrilled to accept the invite, and this is it's a charted of territory that I can't really say. What's the old meme? I've never been on live television before, so this is a first for me. But yeah. So to answer your question, I mean, the game especially for women, I mean, women's sports in general has taken off tremendously. Even in the world with like Athletes Unlimited for softball, as you've talked about, that has continued to grow. I think the ESPN just released their statistics. I believe it was either last year or the year before that when they talked about the Women's College World Series for Division I. It is, if I'm quoting them correctly, it is the second most watched sporting event on ESPN, and the only one that's beating it, as I'm sure you could guess, is college football. Yep. So, but besides that, I mean, that sport and the World Series for women's softball has just taken off, and it's brought so much light to how exciting the game is, how exciting this is for women's sports. Lord willing, I'll have some daughters of my own someday, but until then, I have 20 to 30 girls on the roster that I call mine. So get to work with them and continue to see them grow. But the game itself is just, it's so great to see it growing. It's so great to have so many more opportunities. I'd like to start to see, as they are with professional and limits or leagues beyond the game of college softball or college sports in general, where we're starting to see those pop up. But I think that's going to continue to grow, and we're going to start seeing some big leagues here probably within the next 5-10 years, where you're going to start watching just like you would with any other league.
I mean, I love it. Shane likes it. Him and I we all have this group text message, and we all text him like, man, did you watch this? And Shane's like, the first one. Yeah, I watched it. It was really good. And he was at one point, we were talking like last year, we were watching the Women's College World Series, and Shane will tell you, we were glued. We were legit glued to that TV. You're like, man, this is some high quality sports, and we loved it. So Shane, Go ahead, man.
Oh yeah, well, plenty of times I send pictures in that group chat. I've got that YouTube TV and that multi-view that they have. Absolutely amazing for any sports fan out there. Oh, yeah. For 4 live games at one time, gotta love it. But man, Ben, thanks again for joining us this evening, man. We really do appreciate it. What I want to know kind of first off is kind of what a general game day is like there in Pittsburgh at Chatham University. And, what are kind of the special things that you guys as a softball program do to kind of bring that fan interest there during those game days?
Yeah, so with us, it's at the Division III level. We're based in Pittsburgh. We play in the President's Athletic Conference, which is a very tough conference to play in, at least in all sports. I think even now, like the baseball tournaments finishing up, I think their first day, and softball finished last week. So it's very competitive, and we're continuing to add more schools to this conference. I don't know if you all heard about it was a big deal. But there was a school called St. Francis University in Central Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah,
they were Division I,
and they moved up.
They did. So their program for softball, for example, I think up to that point they had won. It was either 6 out of the last 7 or 7 out of the last 8 conference championships. They even went to Division I regionals, or if I'm not mistaken, super regionals, and they played down in Tallahassee at Florida State. They were going all out, and then all of a sudden, after the end of that season, they made the announcement that they were dropping. They are actually going to D3. Not only are they going to D3, they're joining the President's Athletic Conference. So we're continuing to grow. The typical game day for us is, which is nice for us. We don't have to travel too much because a lot of those schools are in Western Pennsylvania, parts of West Virginia, where it's kind of peeking up into the Panhandle area there, and then even into Eastern Ohio. So on average, we would travel for about an hour and a half at the most. So if it's a traveling game day, we usually are having the girls doing their classes. They get excused for class, obviously, for athletic representation. We usually arrive on site 2 hours ahead of game time just to make sure that the girls are going through their dynamic warm-ups correctly, just getting mentally focused and just getting ready for the game. And for home games, it's a little bit more relaxed in the sense of getting to the field. Our field is actually about 10 minutes away from campus. If you know anything about Pittsburgh, it's a pretty busy place, and it's kind of hard to put a softball field right next to campus when the campus has been there for a long time. So the neighbors don't really like it. Ironically, we actually have our campus is located at least to where Mike Tomlin's house from the former head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He lived right next to us. So we couldn't exactly put a softball field in his backyard. So we have a location
Why not?
about 10 minutes away. Yeah. It was always funny. We always joked. We said, depending on how that week went with the Steelers, he may get a gift basket or some toilet paper in his trees. It just depends. But so we have a field that has some historical significance across the river. It's about 10 minutes away. It's called Westfield. But we play there. It's an all turf field, and because it's a little off campus, we try to get some interaction with fans coming to the game day. Usually there's shuttle transportation for students that are coming. But on top of that, we just show up. We start getting mentally prepared. We start going through our warm-ups. I'm a huge, huge advocate for taking your time and strengthening the muscles, getting loose, and just mentally preparing. In today's world where we are constantly on the go, when you see travel sports where they show up, they warm up for 20 minutes and they play a game, it's exciting when you do that, especially when you're young, because you're getting a lot of playing going. But when you get to this level, it's intense. Your body's going to get beat up. You have to make sure that you're taking your time. So we make sure that our girls get plenty of stretching, plenty of mental focus, and just collaborating with each other, getting that camaraderie and that juice going for a team event.
So my wife went to, back then it was called Reinhardt College. Now it's called Reinhardt University. They've moved up in the realm of things. We actually had the now former AD, the former men's baseball coach who's now the AD at Reinhardt on our show. Bob is a really good friend of ours. But you're right. The smaller people don't realize it takes a lot more for smaller institutions and universities to get, obviously get the recruits, get the workouts and that kind of stuff. And, they're doing this because they love the sport, they have fun, and they're getting a high quality education. And I love it. I think everything about it. My daughter asked my wife actually today, what does she need to do to get better? And we told her, listen to your coaches, try hard, and that kind of stuff. And then I said, my number one goal is I want her to have a full ride in school through academics. Because she is extremely intellectually advanced. She's very smart. She's reading at almost a 4th grade level, and she's only 8 years old. So it's a really exciting time for that one. But I think that softball, not just because I'm a girl dad times 4, I think it's just I think it's just a lot more fun to watch softball and then women's sports in general because they care more about it.
Right.
And I love it. Now, I will say this, it wasn't quite the results you guys had hoped for this season. You went 15-25, and obviously there are a lot of positives to this season, but looking back at this year's campaign, what were some of your favorite memories that probably left a lasting impression on you?
Yeah, absolutely. And a little bit of background about us. So myself, head coach Marcilli, and then we have a couple of volunteer and part-time pitching coaches as well. We actually took over the program 2 years ago. This was our second full season with Chatham. I had grown up in the Pittsburgh area, and I knew about Chatham. I had known about all the other schools that they play in the PAC conference. And I had never really looked into the sports too much. And Chatham has a rich history of academics, very high academic. Pittsburgh, as you know, is a medical hotspot. There's a lot of medical fields that are getting a lot of attention here. And because of that, the university partners with most of those organizations, UPMC, Allegheny Health Network. So the school is very big on its medical degrees in AT, OT, anything that you can think of in the medical side, they probably have it. But the point of for saying all that is the school itself is it's not like a large school. It's outside Pittsburgh. It's about 15 minutes. And because of that, I didn't really look into their athletics too much. So when I looked in, when I had gotten the call from the head coach to come on staff, obviously I discussed with my wife first, because I'm not going to make a decision without her approval. So once we got that thumbs up, I contacted the head coach, who I had previously coached with at one of the Penn State campuses in the state. We coached together for about 5-6 years together there. And that's why he gave me the call. So when I started doing some research, I found out that Chatham had never really had a winning season. They had always brought in coaches who I guess would promise big things, and were not able to deliver on those promises that they made. And so when they hired head coach Mike Marsili, and they told him, we want Chatham to be a winner. A lot of our programs lacks. Actually, both of our men's and women's lacks just got into the championship for the conference. They unfortunately both of them lost, but they've done that. Hockey's done really well. Baseball is actually their first time in the conference tournament this weekend. So it's had a lot of rich history with their sports. So when they brought us in, they said, we want you guys to make softball just like that. We want it to be a championship team. And rebuilding a program is not easy. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of recruiting, a lot of effort by the players and the coaches. So with that being said, a little preface about all that. Last year, when we went through the season, that was our first time there. We inherited a bunch of girls who worked very hard. And it's almost like, walking in the middle of a poker game. You don't know what cards you're going to be dealt with, but you have to work with what you have. And so those girls worked very hard to get all the way to a point where they actually won 14 games last year, which was the most in program history. And on top of that, coming back in this year, those girls also worked very hard. We had a couple of freshmen that we brought in late in the recruiting class because of the point when we came in. It was hard for us to really get a hard recruiting class over the summer. But those girls, they came on that we did recruit, and they worked very hard. And they actually beat last year's record, which is now 15 wins. So that's the program record. And we're continuing to climb. We have a great recruiting class coming in next year. It's the first full recruiting class that we've had. Even though this year was not exactly what we wanted, we always want to make postseason. We were in the run up to the very end. We actually went into a 10-inning game with one of the other schools that we needed to sweep. And it was an exciting international tiebreaker overtime game. And unfortunately, we beat them the first game, but we couldn't pull it out in that 10-inning game in the second game. And that kind of knocked us out of the playoffs. But it gives you something to fight for, something to play for. The girls were all in. They were playing for the logo on their shirt and for the girls behind them in the dugout. And it's not exactly what we wanted record-wise, but I talk to my girls all the time about goals are not just defined by wins and losses. We start talking about, how many walks did we have for our pitchers? How many third strikes did we take looking at the plate? How many errors did we have? Were we communicating well? Were we getting all of our signs when we were on base? It's always about the things that we can control. And so when we're winning at those things, when we're doing successful in those categories, I consider that a successful day. A win on top of it would be great, but in this case, I'm seeing wins in other locations.
I tell so I coach my daughter's basketball team, and I tell them all the time, and I even tell her softball team, I said, don't worry about the results. They will come. But if you give it your all and you put forth the effort, you've won. That is a win right there. And my daughter is very good at noticing when she doesn't focus well enough. She'll even come and say, because Cass will say, what'd you do this wrong this inning? She goes, I didn't pay attention. I didn't do this, but I'm going to work at this. I'm going to do that. So that right there is a very big victory. And what really makes it hit home for both me and my wife is seeing them smile. And
Yes.
when they get it, it's that aha moment. Like, I got this. Oh my God. That makes it amplified even more. And when you see the fun and the joy in their eyes, and then I always like to say, and Shane will know this too, because I say this all the time. You're not just there playing a team. You're developing lifelongers. These are lifelong friendships. This is, when I played, it was a brotherhood, and when my daughter plays, it's a sisterhood. And I went to the University of Hawaii, so that the term sisterhood is very prominent in the way we focus on things. I love what you're doing with this program, and I can already before I go to Shane, I can tell you you've already gained more fans with the four of us at least, plus our reporters who are on our website. So we're going to continue to be Chatham fans from here on out. So just be prepared on that one.
Yeah. I mean, and to your point, I talked to the girls too quite a bit about winning is a large byproduct, right? So when you're doing the little things correctly, when you start taking the little goals that I just talked about, when you start stacking those together successfully, winning is a byproduct of that. So when you start doing the little things correctly, the big things are going to start to come. And on top of that, I tell the girls too, it's like, look, this game is meant to be fun, right? At the point that it is not fun anymore, we might as well hang it up, because that's what this is for. Number one, if you read my bio, my coaching bio on the website, I hone on very hard about academics and athletic balance. Because at the end of the day, softball will end, and you have to do something with your life. Whether you choose to do what you did when you went to school or not, that's up to you, but you have to do something. And so, we hone in that we work really, really hard, but we also have a lot of fun while we do it, because that's the most important side of it.
Absolutely. And that's all that matters the most, is having fun. And that's the same thing with us doing this show. We love what we're doing. So it's not really work to us. This is a lot of fun. Shane, go ahead, man.
Oh yeah, well, Ben, as we mentioned kind of before the show, as we were talking, kind of went in and did a little bit of research, and man, I want to know a little bit about your journey. I mean, you were a collegiate ball player there for a campus there for Penn State. Kind of what was the transition like, and how did that all come about? You going from the baseball field over to the softball side?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because that conversation normally comes up. I was a hardcore baseball guy, played outfield and first base, and it's kind of an interesting transition. So I had told you head coach Mike Marsili was at the campus that I played ball at, and he was the head coach for the softball program there. I was a very busy college person. I played baseball. I was part of a local charity group with Penn State Fawn. It's the largest student-run philanthropy in the world. Raises money for kids with cancer through the Four Diamonds Fund at Penn State Hershey Children's Hospital. And on top of that, I was working multiple jobs, part-time jobs, doing work study at the university. And one of those was actually working in the athletic center. And what started to happen was as the athletic center job was starting to roll in, the softball team would always practice before we would. So they would come in, especially in the winter months when we're indoors, they would come in and they would do their practice, and then we would do ours afterwards. But usually before practice, I was working. And the head coach had another assistant coach with him, Coach Bob White, great guy, knows a lot about the game. He was starting to get a little too worn out. He had two bad knees, and he was having a hard time standing and hitting balls and doing all this stuff. So me and the volunteer heart that I had, I just told him whenever I was working at the athletic desk, I said, hey, if you want me to hit balls for you, coach, I can just hit balls for you. And so what started to happen was every time they were coming in for practice, I would just go down and help Coach White. And what started to happen was that relationship started to grow with him. And then I started to meet head coach Mike, and, he always thanked me for helping out. And fast forward a little bit, I went through my whole collegiate career, my senior year. And I was literally at campus graduation in my cap and gown, had just had my tassel turned, ceremony was over. Coach White came up to me and he thanked me for all his help. And Coach Mike Marsili came up and said the same thing. And then they kind of blindsided me, and Coach White said, Coach, Ben is going to be your title because we want you to come and coach for us. I said, what are you talking about? And Coach White says, I'm retiring. I want you to take my place. And if you would have told me a day earlier that I was going to be offered a coaching spot for women's softball, I would have told you were nuts, because I never really thought about it. It was never something that crossed my mind. And I had to do a lot of thinking about it because I was like, I mean, I played base. I mean, I've watched softball. I mean, I played baseball. It can't be that too different, right? Boy, was I in for a rude awakening because there is a lot of differences between. And but I will tell you this, just to kind of wrap it and make it full circle. I accepted the job and I started coaching with him there. And the first year was a little rough in the transition, as I'm sure we all know. Working with guys is a lot different than working with girls when it comes to intensity and motivation and trying to find the drive out of them. You know, guys, you can get in their face and yell at them and be like, you're better than this. You need to get it together. Go out there and hit some dingers. And they'll get all pumped up and chest bump each other and be like, yeah, let's go do it. If you do that to one of my players, they'll cry and they'll break down and they'll go in the dugout. So you can't do that. So I had to learn a different way to coach. Based off of what I was witness to in my collegiate career in my time. So as I started to develop that, I started to fall in love with the game, the fast pace of it. You know, baseball, you're going 90 feet, and it can be, I'm sure we've all watched some baseball. It can be slow at times, especially if you're not playing. You know, it's always exciting when you're playing, but when you're watching, it can be a little bit of a time drag. And so when I started doing coaching softball, I realized there is so much strategy to this. It's so much more fast paced. People are stealing. We're doing sack bunts. We're doing suicide squeezes. We're doing all kinds of crazy plays. You know, as an outfield coach, you know, I start playing a shift a lot with my girls. We'll start moving them around. Every batter, I'm moving my outfielders around. So there's so much more to the game than what I thought there was. So as I started to get into that, I just started to fall in love with it more and more and more. And I coached Coach Mike to the point to where I think it was about 5 years. We had built that program up. We got it to, for the first time, to the Penn State Athletic Conference championship. And they actually got to the Small College World Series for the first time ever. And then they got into the next year. And I think they just got in this year as well. So, but unfortunately, I had to step away. I was having some crazy stuff going on and I just couldn't juggle it anymore. I actually went into a part-time position for law enforcement here in the state of Pennsylvania. I was a state game warden for a couple years, out there working with our wildlife and preserving the natural resources of the state of Pennsylvania. But as crazy as that got, I had to step away from that as well. I got married, got a fur baby dog that I adopted, and going out and at 11 o'clock at night for poaching calls was not exactly the best family life. So not that I take away I really appreciate all of my fellow law enforcement officers and men and women and first responders put their lives on the line, but it wasn't in the cards for me anymore. So I had to hang that up. And it was ironic, whether you call it fate, whether you call it, you know, the Lord's plan for me, whatever it was. I got a phone call from Coach Mike again, that Chatham had just offered him the softball position for head coach, and he wants me to come on board. We're going to make this a championship team. And here we are 2 years later, and we're still making that accomplishment. We're continuing to climb the ladder.
I love that. That's a pretty cool story. So let's quickly advance to the D1 level briefly. Now, this is something I learned really cool, and I'm really honored to see this. UCLA does something that really, it's really neat for in-state student athletes, and that is they don't charge for in-state tuition. It's actually, you know, for them being such a large perennial powerhouse Division I program as a whole is pretty cool on that one. Do you think that this could be a trend coming sooner rather than later to other major and even minor institutions that we see that, you know, maybe in-state tuition is not charged?
Yeah, I mean, it is something that's out there. I mean, state of Pennsylvania has always been in that discussion of, you know, about free college tuition or in-state tuition compared to out-of-state tuition. Penn State, for example, when I was coaching with them, they originally had a direct line of in-state tuition compared to out-of-state tuition. And what they started to realize is we have so many neighboring states that want to come here, but they can't because they can't afford the out-of-state tuition. So what Penn State for their campuses started to do was they started to offer the border states to Pennsylvania. I think like Virginia was in there, Maryland, West Virginia, Ohio, New York, New Jersey. They all started to offer these students that if they were coming in, they could go for in-state tuition. And so, you know, you're starting to see a shift everywhere on that. I can't speak to the the actual financial side of it. I don't pretend to live in that world, but I can tell you that, especially with the world of NIL now, as I'm sure both of you are very well aware of, the demographics are shifting and things are starting to come into the softball world and the sports world in general when it comes to collegiate athletics that are becoming uncharted territory. And I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see more changes and differences coming from either NCAA, NAIA, JUCO. It doesn't really matter. I think we're going to continue to see some shifting.
Yeah, we've dabbled just a little bit on the NIL conversations, just to say the least. We even talked about, we just recently had the former athletic director of University of Hawaii on, and we had a nice little conversation about that with NIL as well. Shane,
Yeah,
go ahead, man.
Oh yeah, well,
there you go.
Well, Ben, as I said before, I learned a lot while I was doing my research for tonight's show. As you mentioned, Chatham's an older university, founded in 1869.
Yeah.
And was a women's college all the way up
Yes.
until 2015. So just a couple of interesting little factoids that I saw there. But one, when it comes to the college, that kind of got me intrigued was the mascot change in 1992, and now the recent surge from the old mascot trying to make a resurgence there.
Yeah.
Let's see, I believe it's now Carson the Cougar, who is named after an alumnus there. But Penzi the Seal is the old mascot, and I believe majority, I think 60% of the student referendum went through with them wanting to bring Penzi the Seal back. So just a little factoid I found and wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So it was funny. The first that I actually heard about that was at practice. I had one of my players show up and they were all chit-chatting amongst each other. And I said, well, what are we doing? Like, we got to be doing our warm-ups. We got to do some IO. We got to get going. And they're all laughing, and they're like, did you hear about the mascot change? And I said, what mascot change? I said, it's Carson Cougar. What are you talking? And they said, oh, no, they're talking about bringing back the seal. And I said, what do you? And to me, I was like, wait a minute. And probably don't condone this as a coach, but I went over and grabbed my phone because I had to look at this. I'm like, what is this? So I started Googling, and lo and behold, there is the seal. And this, apparently the student population was starting to show a very strong push to get the seal back. And outside of that, I don't really have too much to talk about it with, but I chuckled because I said that would be a really interesting change. Now, I mean, our stuff is, the Cougar brand is everywhere. So rebranding and going to a seal would be really interesting. I would imagine they would probably modernize the logo a little bit if they did. Not to mention, if they do, I would love to see the mascot in person. I just think that would be fantastic. I used to work at before I got into coaching, I used to work at one of the D2 schools here. It's called Slippery Rock University of Pennsylvania.
Yep, heard them very well.
You've heard about it. Yeah. So they had a situation with their old mascot too. So they have a lion as their mascot now, but it used to be an old rocket, like literally an old rocket mascot. And they have it enshrined in their archives, and I took a look at it one time. I said, that's scary. Don't ever bring that back. Sorry, SRU, but it did not look good. I'm a Penn State alumni, so I talk about, the Penn State Nittany Lions as a symbol of our best, right? But if you look at some of the original mascots, or even the older suits like back 60s, 70s, 80s, it's a little scary to look at. It just does not look super.
Looks kind of creepy, right?
Yeah. So, but yeah, the seal may be coming back. I can't say for sure, can't confirm or deny whether it's going to happen, but be on the lookout. It may start making its headway here soon.
Oh, absolutely on that one. So I was going to ask a question about recruiting, but because of time, we don't want to overexceed on that one. Shane, do you have any final questions you'd like to ask Coach Ben?
Yeah, well, I know you touched on it a little bit, Brandon, earlier about this past season's team. And I know, Coach Ben, you kind of touched on it a little bit, what you were looking forward to, but kind of tell us what you actually are looking forward to, what you got coming back, and what the future is like for this softball team going.
Yeah, I think the future is really bright. To go from a program that struggled for a long time to see the accomplishment. This is something we talk to when we have recruits on campus all the time. So when you come on campus and we talk to you, and we're very upfront, we're very forward with them, telling them, look, we are rebuilding here, but we want you to be a part of something that's really special, that's going to be part of history, being the first team that's going to get a championship for softball at Chatham. And we just are very upfront with them. And we tell them, look, wouldn't you like to be part of a program and be part of that building process? It's almost like when you're young, your parents tell you, you work for something, you appreciate it so much more. So when we bring these girls in and we tell them, hey, you can have something that's handed to you, you can walk in on a program that has had, 10 championships for the pack, or you can come in and you can, actually do the work and be part of that foundation. We have girls that came in last year, freshman, sophomore, that are returning. We had 7 seniors that graduated this year. So unfortunately, they won't get to be part of the future success, but we've told them when they left, you are the foundation of what's going on here. So what's all coming in with recruiting of great pitching, catching. I mean, we stacked all of our positions, at least we believe we did, based off the talent that we've scouted. So we're excited for that, but I'm also just excited to see the camaraderie that's starting to happen. The freshman class that we brought in this year, they're so close, and I could never really expect this to happen. And I found this out. It was one of the last days of school when we were in the dining hall, head coach and I, and we saw our freshman group coming in, and they all sat down. And of course, they came over and bullied me a little bit because they just have to do it. It's part of their DNA to make fun of Coach Ben. But when they all came in, they sat down together and they ate lunch together. And I had asked them at one point, I said, that really made me happy to see you girls come in and eat lunch together. They said, Coach, we do this every day. And I was like, it just hit me in the heart. Like I was so proud of the camaraderie, of the chemistry they were building. And they are so excited for the next group of girls that are coming in. So that's what's being built here. That's what the girls are looking forward to, the camaraderie, the sisterhood that you talked about. And then continuing to climb, not just being close on a team, but actually academically and athletically going for a title and getting a degree while you're doing it.
I like it. His name is Ben Lesko. He is the assistant softball coach for Chatham University. Ben, man, I really do appreciate you coming on. I would like to have you come on again closer to the season starts if you're down for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just let me know when. And I know I'm sure there's other stuff we could have talked about. Unfortunately, we're on a time constraint. If we want to talk about NIL, recruiting, or whatever the topic is, I'm an open book. I love to share my knowledge and information, and I'm still learning too.
Hey.
I never pretend to know all the answers. So
if you're not learning, then you're dying, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's you have to learn every day, and that's what makes the difference, man. I really do appreciate you. From my other two teammates, Matt and Ben, we really do appreciate it. Shane, give your final goodbyes to him, man.
Oh yeah, well, Coach Ben, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's great to have somebody with your knowledge and to see the transition from such a hardcore. I'm a baseball guy myself, so I know how it can be, and then just the young minds of today, and trying to shape that, man. I appreciate all you're doing out there, man, and just keep it up.
Yes,
yeah, I appreciate
absolutely.
That, guys. Thank you.
We'll talk to you again. Sound good?
All right. Thanks, y'all. Take care. Appreciate it.
What a cool. See, now that's where it's cool to get another individual's perspective with, especially with a small program like Chatham. So really thank you to Coach Ben for coming on. It really does mean a lot to us. All right. So let's get going into to the topics as well we still have at hand. Excuse me. So Shane, the New York Knicks seem to have found a rhythm and are blowing everybody out of the water since they had that near scare against the Atlanta Hawks. By now, everyone should have seen it happen. But just in case, the Knicks came back in Game 6 and beat the Atlanta Hawks after they were down by 20. Actually, I think it was 24. Then in Game 7, they absolutely dismantled the Atlanta Hawks, the entire team. At one point, they were up by 62 points.
I'm surprised you can even mention this one.
It's hard. But Game 1, they absolutely mollywopped, Matt's term, they mollywopped the 76ers by 39. So, Shane, do you think the Knicks have found their stride, and can they make a run all the way to the finals?
Well, I'm not sure. This 76ers team, it's one of those ones that it's kind of up in the air.
That is true.
Depending on kind of when they get down, and they don't play good for some reason. I don't know, being what they need, as far as a true leader to kind of bring them together and just kind of say, hey, just set your head on right. You got
right.
this kind of deal. In which we see it in the second game right now. Less than 2 minutes to go until halftime, and they're up by 1 right now. This is going to be a great series, I do believe, and we'll kind of come down to a testament of wills. Which I believe, any playoff team that's got a true shot at it, just my old school thinking, you've got to have that point guard with that mentality that they can do it, they can control the game, and the Knicks have that. So it's a very interesting series so far, but we can see what the Knicks can do when they're hot.
Yep.
I mean,
when they're hot, they're hot.
Yeah. When they're hot, I don't know who can beat them. But man, it's great to see the Knicks kind of bring themselves back up to relevancy. Especially in such a big market, dominated by major sports teams.
Mm-hmm. What's also funny too, Shane, is the vast majority of the starting lineup is from the same college, Villanova. It's such a crazy thing to think that too. That 3 out of the 5 are all from the same school.
I mean, aren't they in the Big East?
Yeah.
Where does the Big East play their conference tournament every year?
MSG.
So,
in case you know what that means, it stands Madison Square Garden.
I'm not going to say that scouts are in the stands,
but maybe they are.
Look for. but I can tell you that there might be some sort of correlation going on there.
Hey, possible.
Man, I can tell you this: this second round of the NBA playoffs is going to be a good one. I think with not as many, I'm going to say, blowouts as far as series go. I'm not going to say games because we all know that can happen. We're talking about professional athletes that are 1,000 to 1,000,000 times better than your average person out there playing basketball.
Unless you're the Atlanta Hawks in Game 7 against the Knicks.
Like I'm saying,
down by 62 at one point.
You might have these blowout games.
Yeah,
you might have these blowout games that we may see, but I see the series going longer as far as deeper and more games. We had 2 or 3 7-game series in the first round,
which is weird. I don't ever remember that happening in normal life.
I believe that we could have 2 or 3 in the second round.
Hey, that's a pretty good opportunity there.
So I think it's going to be interesting to watch all of these series. There's different storylines going throughout. So it's great to see. And I mean, we saw Minnesota take one from San Antonio at home.
I know, right?
In the second round.
It's Wimby out of all people.
Yeah, with a questionable Anthony Edwards. You knew he wasn't 100%, but he
didn't show it.
He
didn't show it. He was still a difference maker. Yeah, he was still a difference maker.
So, like I said, this second round of the NBA playoffs is going to be one of the most interesting rounds of the NBA playoffs, I'd say, probably in the last 5 to 6 years.
I agree. Speaking of NBA, I have a question for you and for everybody who is watching right now. Who is the greatest NBA player you have ever gotten to meet? And when did you meet them? So mine was when I was 15 years old. I'm a diehard Atlanta Hawks fan. I've been my whole life. I got to see Spud and Dominique play. I mean, Kevin Willis even. I got to meet Dikembe Mutombo for my 15th birthday, and it was a moment that I'll never forget. Now, since then, I've gotten to meet players like Michael Jordan. Obviously, I've met Spud Webb. I've met Dominique Wilkins, Shaquille O'Neal, Jalen Rose, who lives in Atlanta. But nothing will ever outdo getting the chance to meet Mutombo. I still have his jersey. I have basketball posters, a ball cap signed by him. I mean, I have a whole slew of things. And rest in peace to Dikembe Mutombo, was one of the greatest humanitarians to ever walk the face of this planet. I firmly believe that. So, what about you, Shane? Who was the greatest NBA player, current or past, that you've gotten to meet in your lifetime?
Well, gotten to meet. I'm not the real big NBA guy,
That'd be
so
Matt.
so I really haven't, and I lived in small towns too, so I was away from everything as well. So I hadn't had the privilege to meet many of them. I remember when I was younger, going out with my dad and one of his business friends there at a place called I believe it was Creek Rats in Charlotte there on Lake Norman, and Larry Johnson was eating there. So
Oh,
that's
cool.
but then I can remember a special moment with the player. I believe I was same young age, 9, 10 years old or something, and went to a Hornets game, and me and my sister and my mom, we were all in line getting some concessions, and two guys came up, offered us courtside seats. They were fixing to leave to go do something else. So we got to go get the courtside seats, and they were playing the Pacers at the time. And as much as I immortalized uh, Reggie Miller at the time, it was just so fun to pick on him. And and at that age, when your parents give you permission to yell out in front of a crowd to say, "Hey, Reggie, you suck," that definitely leaves a lasting impression on your mind. So,
Oh
so
God, yeah.
and you got to stare down.
You see those
I got
videos
it
all over
once
the
or
place
twice.
with people heckling LeBron.
Oh yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things that if you have the privilege to be close by, and you're a fan of the home team, and a visiting player is a superstar, you've got to heckle.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't know if you're a true sports fan if you don't, um,
Exactly.
but but definitely those are just some of the closest memories as far as NBA players go specifically in my mind.
That's pretty cool. I like that. Now comes it's not new, but it's a new segment name. It is the sports story segment. We both will give you sports stories. Shane, what is your sports story?
Well, my sports story is going to be on a honorable mention that I brought up last episode with the Kentucky Derby. But we're going to talk about the Kentucky Derby and its Major League Baseball connections. Um, as I mentioned, this Kentucky Derby was the most watched since Nielsen has recorded stats. But another thing happened with Elmer Rodriguez, pitcher for the New York Yankees. He made his major league debut on Wednesday, and that's kind of a great moment for this young kid out of Puerto Rico. But then on Saturday, his two cousins, uh, Jose and Arad Ortiz, were jockeys for the Kentucky Derby. Um, both of those jockeys, they were on top of Golden Tempo and Renegade, happened to finish 1-2 in the race. So Elmer Rodriguez is sitting there, made his major league debut that Wednesday, is on the Yankee squad. Sadly, he just got sent back down to AAA today, but had that great moment of his MLB debut, but then said in interviews on Sunday there at Yankee Stadium about his cousins. He said he was so emotional watching that race. He even began to cry. Because of that. But I just thought I guess smartphones out here obviously listen to everything that we talk about on here and how that goes, because I got flooded with a bunch of Kentucky Derby kind of stuff.
That's kind of how it happens, right?
And that's kind of one of those things. I picked up on that story and thought I'd like to highlight it. And man, I can tell you their next family gathering all together
That's gonna be a lot to talk about.
it's going to be a big moment considering.
God, yeah.
But now the Ortiz brothers, they are some of the premier jockeys there in horse racing, based out of New York, and have been atop multiple champions. when it comes down to major races. So, winning's in that bloodline. Wish the best to Elmer Rodriguez and to both the Ortiz brothers in their future. But what a moment, only a few days apart, to have your MLB debut and then your cousins finish 1-2 in the
That's pretty
Kentucky
cool.
Derby.
That's pretty cool on that one. All right, so my sports story is actually pretty interesting. It's about Tulane University and the impact they had on the upstate of South Carolina. Now, you probably are thinking, wait, why would Tulane, a school based in New Orleans, Louisiana, have some form of ties to a city in the upstate of South Carolina? Well, more specifically, in a little town called Easley, where I live. Now, you're probably thinking, what? Well, a long time ago, Easley had just started their high school. Easley High School, and they used to be right by the train tracks that run directly through downtown Easley. Well, one day in particular, Tulane's football program was coming back from a football game, and they had to stop in Easley to feed their players and whatnot. And the town was trying to think of a name for their football team. Well, the town said they liked Tulane's colors and wished they could have something similar on a team name and color scheme. Well, Tulane said, we will sell you the naming rights if you were to feed the entire team for free. So sure enough, the entire town, they agreed to it, and they fed the team. And that's actually how Easley High School adapted their team name and colors, which, in case you don't know this, folks, Tulane is the Green Wave. Easley is the Green Wave. And I thought that was a really cool story. This was actually a story that was told to us by a member of the original class at Easley High School. I think it was last year he told us this, and it was back in the 60s. So that's a pretty cool little story on that one to tie into the fact that Tulane is linked some form or another to the upstate of South Carolina. So now comes everybody's favorite segment. It is the Yes, it is the honorable mentions, where we give you 2 to 5 sports stories that the mainstream media doesn't cover enough of. But you know what, though? We do, because it literally says right there, we are the Sports Nuts. We're nuts about sports. So my first honorable mention is, my first mention goes out to New Mexico State, but not for a good reason. They are one of the losingest teams in FBS football since 1980, with an astounding, you ready to hear this, Shane? 380 losses. Put it into perspective. Alabama, since 1980, hasn't even cracked the 100 loss yet. That's how it's in this as well. There are two teams right behind them, UTEP and Kent State. One at Kent State is at 272, and UTEP is at 273. So shout out to, I wouldn't really say shout out to New Mexico State. I'd kind of say, get yourself away from having that over your head that you were one of the losingest programs ever in FBS. Shane, what's your first honorable mention?
Okay, well, before I get into my first honorable mention, and since we got a little bit of time, I got to get something off my chest. I got a little hot take on something, and I want to get your opinion on it, Brandon, and I want all the fans out there also to give their opinion on it. My first honorable mention has to do with the MLB, so I want to bring this up. We've seen in the past couple of days, Major League Baseball come out and suspend guys. First of all, they eject them from the game without even a warning. And then they suspend pitchers for throwing at batters. What happened to the game of baseball? If like what happened with the Tigers and Valdez, you had two guys pimp home runs on you back to back, and the next batter gets plunked directly in the middle of the bat, not up in the head, just directly in the middle of the bat. That used to be called payback and sending a message. Mm-hmm. But what has happened to the MLB to where I understand the ejection, because you know it was intentional. Mm-hmm. But then turning around and suspending these players for games, on stuff that used to be a code of conduct that the players regularly did in the 80s and 90s to keep the game in check.
There's one word in there I can think of that comes to my mind. That's the word soft.
Yeah. So, Brandon, other than that word, what are your kind of thoughts on this before I get into my honorable mention?
Well, I understand the vindictiveness towards it. I really do. You're angry because this team that you're facing, you're most likely known as a star of the baseball team as their starting rotation, and you're giving up back-to-back jacks. So obviously you're going to be pretty mad. You're mad at yourself. You're mad at you're mad about the fans even.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about with the MLB stepping in and suspending these guys.
That's why I'm going with that one.
The umpires have already dealt with about throwing them out the game. I mean, but really, MLB?
I think officiating in general is kind of, and we've talked about this before. Officiating has kind of gotten away from the integrity of the game and gotten too soft. I mean, heck, you see there was that one incident last year in baseball where Rio Muto stuck his hand in the back in spring training to get the ball, and he thought that the umpire put the ball in his hand, so he pulled his arm down, and you literally see he sticks his hand in his glove thinking the ball is in there, and the umpires thought him out because they've gotten too soft. And Major League Baseball, I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to reinvent the game to make it be back to America's pastime. But you're coming to a point now where people, if you go look on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and wherever else, heck, even TikTok, you go on there and you see it. There are so many people saying, get rid of the umpires in general. They're focusing too much on themselves, not enough for the game. So then you're kind of thinking, what's going on with the game? Is it just the umpires? I think it has a lot to do with Rob Manfred as well. I have my feelings, my thoughts about him. I'm going to keep that to myself because it's not exactly G-rated, but I think he's part of the problem. Bud Selig did. I think he did a pretty good job. There's so many good opportunities back in the day. And you're right there, Shane. What happened? We were blessed to watch great baseball all the way up until like the early 2010s. Heck, I would even go all the way up to 2019 range, and then it just kind of actually, let's just say after COVID, it just kind of really went sideways, and it's a sad situation. That's my thing. I think the big word there is soft.
Yeah, and I think you're all that wanting to protect the players, but also they're trying to add too much entertainment value with all the rule changes. And
but if it ain't broke, don't fix.
Yeah. So, but anyway, let's get back to where we were. So I digress. Back to the honorable mentions. But with that being said, my first honorable mention is going to go out to Matt Olson. Monday night hit his 300th career homer. Tuesday night hit his 301st career homer. Is on a pace to set the Braves home run record again this year, on the same pace he was back in 2023, I believe it was. But man, he's just crushing the ball right now. He's one of only 7 first basemen to have 300 career home runs within their first roughly 1,260 games.
Uh-oh. Shane, you still with me? Well, while we're waiting for Shane to come back, my second honorable mention goes out, and this is a really exciting thing for me to mention. My daughter's softball team, they are 8-1. And here is the really cool thing that I want to also shout out. My daughter hit her 3rd home run of the season, her 4th overall for her entire career. So it's many more to come for sure. But here's what's really cool is Addison's team is 8-1, and they are biting for their the potential for a number 1 overall seed in the playoffs. If they win on Friday, they will be finished the regular season 9-1, and most likely the number 1 seed. So really excited. We're waiting for Shane to come back. I'm assuming somebody probably called him, and that's why he dropped. So here's my third honorable mention. It goes out to the city of Detroit. This is what's really cool about this. They are going to be hosting the Professional Women's Hockey League draft in a couple of weeks, and they were officially awarded today a Professional Women's Hockey League franchise. They will start playing in the 2026-27 season, and they are going to be playing in the same building that the Detroit Red Wings play in. So really, really excited on that note for the city of Detroit as a whole. Shane, I'm assuming somebody probably called you, and that's why you.
No. Technology said not today, Junior, and kicked me completely out of everything.
Well, I was able to give my second and third. Well, I was able to give my second and third honorable mentions. So give us your second and third honorable mentions, please.
Okay, my second honorable mention is going to go out to Boise State University.
Well, with that being said, though, you guys have a fantastic evening. Thank you for. No, I was kidding.
They're auctioning off pieces of the infamous Smurf turf.
Really?
Yes. No, they're not replacing it with regular green turf.
I was thinking you were going to say that.
No, they're just getting rid of some of the old pieces. But it allows their diehard fans to have a piece of history in what is the Smurf turf, So shout out to them for that. I saw one guy bought a 400 square foot patch that he's going to have professionally installed for the small price of $25,000.
Only the logo price of $25,000.
So if you're a fan and want to break your pocketbook, go ahead. They're auctioning them off right now. But then my third honorable mention, since we had a Pittsburgh-based guest on tonight, is going to go to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yes, they're sitting in last place in the NL Central. But we've spoke about this on the show before, how good the NL Central is this year. Just forget that they're in last place. Their record is better than 13 of 15 American League ball clubs right now.
That's terrible to think that for a second too. That I don't even know how I would react to that. The fact that an organization that's synonymous with losing is better than basically half the entire league. Dadgum.
Yes. So it's definitely something to say. They're a young team. You've seen Skeens and now Griffin coming up. They've hit on these first round picks that they've had. Be it early first round picks, normally you can hit on those kind of players. But if their bats stay hot, they're definitely going to be in that conversation to where we could say, hey, the NL Central last place team could have an above 500 record close to.
That's crazy. I think
that's saying a lot. But with all their young talent, if they stay hot like this, they're probably 2 or 3 years ahead of their 5-10-year window right now.
Wow. I like that. So my last honorable mention was going to go to the Atlanta Braves, but it ended that whole thing ended today. They lost their first ever series. The fact they made it all the way to May the 6th is pretty impressive. But no, so there's a couple things that I want to mention. The first one, and I think we are coming to the end of seeing him. Russell Wilson is debating whether or not to continue taking his contract offer with the Jets or focus on being on TV. So we'll stay tuned on that one. But here's my main one that I wanted to focus on, Shane. Shout out to Arthur Blank and the city of Atlanta. Atlanta is going to be one of the host cities for the FIFA World Cup. Well, our good friend John from the Pitch Crew is also watching this too. And, we mentioned this. cities left and right that are hosting are skyrocketing their ticket prices, their concession prices. No, Arthur Blank is doing the right thing. And if you've never gone to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I highly recommend you do. It's one of the greatest venues to go to. Arthur Blank outdid himself really with this particular venue. Well, it's also, you get high quality food for a low price. You get high quality beverages for a pretty decent price. Well, he's keeping his ticket prices for the FIFA World Cup when they host the games there at regular admission prices, and the food as a regular admission price. He wants to bring the culture of soccer as a whole to the city of Atlanta, and also turn not just the city of Atlanta, but turn the entire East Coast into soccer fanatics. Soccer is a very predominant staple in the Metro Atlanta region, and it's more specifically in the same region area that you would see where the Atlanta Braves play in Cobb County, and DeKalb County is where the Atlanta United their practice facility is, and they're also going to be building the practice facility for the new national women's soccer team that's coming to Atlanta. But shout out really to Arthur Blank for what he has accomplished with everything, and hopefully this translates into success for the future of soccer. As you guys have seen regularly, we have John from the Pitch Grid come on, and we get pretty excited to talk about with soccer. So that I wanted to give my final honorable mention goes out to Arthur Blank for keeping it level-headed with regards to with everything being exuberantly high. I mean, for instance, you have gas near my sister in LA. It's $7.90 a gallon. Our good friend Brian Kajiyama in Hawaii, he told me today it was $6.87 for gas. That's unfathomable thing. But then also you talk about the fact that you used to go to the grocery store not even 2 months ago and it was decently affordable. Now it's the way everything's going. So shout out to Arthur Blank for the fact that he is keeping it mellow, and hopefully this introduces more fans to the game of soccer, and especially to American soccer, because soccer is a worldwide sport. It's a very recognized sport. So really, really good on Arthur Blank. People may not like what Arthur Blank is doing with regards to the Atlanta Falcons, but he's doing really good with everything else. And he actually has helped a lot for the city of Atlanta, for the state of Georgia, and for the games of both MLS and NFL. So really excited on that one. All right, Shane, give us your next, give us your final honorable mention.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that about Arthur Blank, because it just came out that the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, said that ticket prices to the World Cup are at market value. And the U.S. is the entertainment capital of the world. So, of course, it's got a higher value. This reported after a ticket sold for the final for $2 million.
Good grief!
So
I can think of 2 million. Actually, I can think of 1,999,999 ways to spend my money than go see a professional sporting game. I don't care if I'm a billionaire. I'm not spending $2 million to go watch any sporting event.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned that, and that story just came out. But my final honorable mention is going to go out to Ryan Blaney, driver of the number 12 forward for Roger Penske and their team. Got announced today that he signed a long-term deal with Penske Racing. Blaney, he's been been one of the best drivers here in the past few years. He's had at least 17 top 10 finishes in each of the last 7 years. So over half the races he's finishing in the top 10, and that's why he's always a championship contender and a rightful way to do it. Roger Penske eking him to a long-term deal. I don't know the contract details.
You there? You still with us, Shane? Shane might be getting affected by the weather like we are here. He'll be back momentarily. Now, I will say this, that if you are living in the upstate of South Carolina, there was a tornado warning that has been issued. Please listen to local and state officials when it comes to inclement weather like it is going on right now. If, in fact, you are in the path of the tornado, seek shelter immediately. Don't fight. Don't hide. Don't go looking at it. You want to hide. So, but yes, this was actually a really good episode. I had a lot of fun talking with Ben Lesko. I know it says Bob Lesko. His name is Ben Lesko. I apologize on that one. It's really cool to get like an outsider's perspective of another program like you do get with a team like Chatham. That's really cool to learn that one. So really thank you for that one. And I want to let everybody know also, the poll is up for you to go vote for it's the top 4 choices for a potential new segment of the show. You can vote often. You can vote for multiple selections, but then share it out there. It's on our Facebook page. It's on my Facebook page. It's on Shane's, Matt's, Ben's as well. So go and vote to give us your potential options for the next new segment of the Sportz Nuts. We really do. We really get excited about this. It's a lot of fun doing this, and we've had a lot of great responses. I'm going to go ahead and let everybody know right now, and this is as of 8:52. Here are the current numbers. So for the first option is called Fix That Franchise. You are looking at currently at 20 votes. The next one is Call the Nuts. It's a fan interaction. You're looking at 45 votes. There is no votes on the Sportz Nuts takes and then L of the week, which that one only has 7. So it looks like it's going to be between the Fix That Franchise and then Call the Nuts fan interaction page. Please go out and vote. It is on everything, and we will announce the winners in the next couple of weeks. So shout out to everybody who's voting on that one. Here is a look at the upcoming episodes. Friday, May 8th, it is episode 227. Our good friend Brian Atkins, the public address announcer for Furman University, is going to join us. He's a really good guy, really good friend of ours. I actually had the privilege of watching his dog, Bella. And it's funny I said that because I have a dog named Stella, and we call her Stella Bella. And so we had Bella here. So we had Stella and Bella. It was really cool to have them on. But yes, Brian will be on. We're really excited to talk with him. Then it starts. Episode 228. We are going back next week, starting next Tuesday. We're going to go back Tuesdays and Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday, May 12th, it is our good friend Marcus Mack. He is going to return. And it all starts with our new / old time slot. Really excited to have Marcus on. It's always good to see him. He's a good friend of ours. Episode 229 will be Friday, May the 15th. And that episode's going to be really good as well. But then episode 230 will be Tuesday, May 19th. Our good friend, he always comes on, our guy Tony Gladstone, for our weekly Tony Knows Ball segment will be on. We're really excited on that one. So with that being said, for everybody who tuned in tonight, everybody who tuned in on the radio stations as well as in the 46 other countries we air in, thank you guys so much. It really does mean the world to us. As you guys know, Matt always tries to tell you, do not get flagged in a game of life. You're going to want to partake in some adult libations in the coming days. And if that's the case, you don't drink, don't drive. Because if you get flagged in a game of life, you're going to have a whole slew of problems. So just be good, keep your nose clean, that kind of stuff. Ben always tells you as well. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support. And as you guys do see on my little marker here, we're on 10K watch. We are 422 subscribers away from the magical 10K mark. Yes, 10,000 subscribers. We are only 100,000 views away from the 1 million mark. Help us get there. And don't mind the lightning you just saw behind me. And as Shane always tell you, may the good Lord bless you in peace, love, and bacon grease. And we always say peace, love, and bacon grease indeed. And as I always tell you guys, peace up, A-Town down. Why? It's the greatest sports city there ever was. Hey, you guys have a fantastic evening. I know the weather is getting rough. It's getting yuckier. As you guys saw the lightning behind me, it just lightninged. And you probably hear the rumbling of thunder. So be safe tonight. There is a tornado warning that was issued for the upstate of South Carolina. So just listen to all local and state officials and take cover. Until then, guys, you have a fantastic evening. We will be back on Friday. I will not be here on Friday. My daughter's final regular season softball game is up, and I will be at that game, but you will still have Matt, Shane, and Ben, and our good friend Brian Atkins will be on the show. You guys have a fantastic evening and enjoy this outro, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.